Welcome back, everyone. So excited. What a great conference we've had so far today. Our last presenter is here. It's Callinex Mines Inc. Trades on the OTCQX under the symbol CLLXF and on the TSXV under CNX. It's advancing its portfolio of base and precious metals rich deposits located in established Canadian mining jurisdictions. The focus of the portfolio is highlighted by the rapidly expanding Rainbow and Alchemist deposits at its rich VMS Pine Bay Project located near existing infrastructure in the Flin Flon Mining District. Please welcome its president and CEO, Max Porterfield. Welcome, Max. Happy to have you on our conference today.
Thanks so much for having me. Very, very excited to be here, and I really appreciate everyone's time as they take that other day to learn about what we're up to with our very, very exciting discoveries in northern Manitoba in the Flin Flon District, as you alluded to in your introduction there. So again, we trade on the OTCQX in the United States of the ticker CLLXF. Here's the forward-looking disclosures here about the things I'm about to say. But again, we're going to be discussing our very exciting discoveries. But before we get into discoveries and the history of Flin Flon and everything like that, it really makes sense to take a brief look at our cap structure, because the cap table is, again, important in terms of the performance of any exploration story. With that being said, we have less than 15 million shares outstanding. Myself and my family are the single largest shareholders collectively at 14%. I own 4% outright. And then we have very, very strong institutional support with in family office as well, with McKinsey, Altius Resource Capital Funds, Delbrook, EMA Fund, Gold 2000, SSI, to name a few, are institutional shareholders, again, that have a long-standing experience in investing in natural resource space. McKinsey, for example, is one of the top performing natural resource funds over the past decade, as awarded by Morningstar and Lipper. So it's great to have their support as we fund and need to fund our objectives. And we are in the tail end of a 20,000 meter drilling campaign, and we haven't announced the majority of those results, and we'll get into that. Before we get into everything, I do want to mention our team, because our team is critical to the success of our exploration and our discovery efforts. Our technical team has been credited with the discovery of 3 of the 4 largest mines in Flin Flon history. And I'm going to take you to Flin Flon here in a moment. But Flin Flon has a robust history of base and precious metals rich VMS deposits. And VMS deposits are short for volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits. And with that being said, our technical team has been credited with the discovery of 3 of the 4 largest mines in Flin Flon's history. And again, Flin Flon has had a history of 32 mines and counting, I like to say, because what we're on to is going to be the next producers potentially for the town and the community of Flin Flon. Our former chairman and founder of the company, Mike Maslowski, is a member of the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame for the discovery of of mini mines, 12 of them in the Flin Flon greenstone belts of Manitoba. So nearly half of the mines that have ever been discovered, Mike's been associated with. And he saved the town of Flin Flon in 1978 when he discovered the Trout Lake mine, when the original Flin Flon ore body that had been producing for over 60 years was due to shut down. And then when the Trout Lake mine, it had a long production history, was unwinding, Jim Piquel, another member of our team, won the Bill Dennis Award for the 777 mine, and that mine just shut down in May of this year. And we'll talk about that. And then Alan Valls also won the Bill Dennis Award for the Lawler mine that's operating in a different production center of this belt up in northern Manitoba. So again, they've collectively been credited with the discovery of 3 of the 4 largest in the camp's history. And when I joined the company in 2014 and refocused it back to exploring for these rich VMS-style deposits in Flin Flon, I went out and looked to build a team to find the next one for the community of Flin Flon, with the understanding that the 777 mine that was operating at the time was due to unwind and shut down, and it was not going to last forever. Nothing lasts forever, as you understand, in life in general. So I'm going to take you to Flin Flon. So again, Flin Flon sits on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border in Canada. And again, we're in a Tier 1 jurisdiction where, again, you've got a 100-year production history, you have a rule of law, you have a community that's very supportive of mining, the town's built on mining. And so I'm really going to introduce you to Flin Flon. Flin Flon, again, has a population of just north of 5,500 people to date. And then they actually borders the town of Creighton, Saskatchewan, which is to the north. To the west, sitting right there. We're looking east towards Los Angeles or Vancouver, if you're in Canada or the United States. And so in Flin Flon, again, this mine, the 777 mine, and we'll get an up-close look at that head frame there in a moment, that operated and just shut down in May of this year, and that employed 785 direct jobs for this community of just 5,500 people. And so, again, that is the industry for Flin Flon. And Flin Flon, again, has not had a new discovery, with the exception of our brand new discoveries that are going to feed into this processing facility that you can see, again, that I'm highlighting right now in the town there. And what I want to show you is, as we look at Flin Flon and I show you our discoveries at Pine Bay, they all sit within a fault system or growth fault. And right here you can see this is the fault that controls the 3 large deposits that have been mined in Flin Flon's history. And we'll get an up closer look at those. And that's outcropped by an outcropping hill called Mill Rock Hill. But the important takeaway on this, again, is that the 3 major large mines that operated collectively for over 80 some odd years, they are all located within 2 kilometers of this outcropping of Mill Rock Hill. And I'm going to show you Mill Rock Hill. So this Mill Rock Hill is a certain rock type and a big fragment. And if you're a geologist, the first place they take you is out here to Mill Rock Hill. But the important takeaway is that's the base of this growth fault that controls these large deposits. And within 400 meters of Mill Rock Hill, you can see this is the open pit, and eventually was mined underground giant Flin Flon deposit that I'm just again highlighting there for you. And then as you continue to the north of that corridor, that growth fault, you also then have a separate system of mines, the Callinex mine and then the 777 mine, that were mined from 300 meters underground down to 1.5 kilometers underground. So again, the key takeaway here is that Flin Flon needs a new discovery. You have processing facilities that are sitting idle in the town that have excess capacity. You have all those miners that need jobs. And we have a brand new discovery, or 2 discoveries that we'll talk about, that are in very close proximity to that. So again, Pine Bay, and what we're exploring, is located 30 minutes away from the town of Flin Flon. And this is an area that's always had the potential to host a large discovery. And really the takeaway from us is that, persistence pays off, and then taking things and looking at them from a new perspective pays off. But the reason why it always had the potential for a large discovery is that you can see in the town of Flin Flon over here, where I'm now circling off to the left here, that little sliver of yellow rocks is what's hosted those 3 large mines, 3 of the largest mines in the camp's history. And that's the host rock in the felsics, is what they're called. In Pine Bay, where we're exploring and have the new discoveries, is the largest felsic rock package that's been mapped at surface in the entire Flin Flon greenstone belt. And we also have the same outcropping and growth fault within that system, and I'll show you this. And as I highlight, that's where Mill Rock Mountain is located. But Mill Rock Mountain is a much larger growth fault than the growth fault in Flin Flon, in that it spans over 4 kilometers. And I'll just show you as I pan off here to the east. And you can see that all the historic production historically in exploration was done over 2 kilometers away from the base of the growth fault in Flin Flon, or Mill Rock Hill. So again, I'll take you to Mill Rock Mountain real briefly. You can see the same fragments near surface there at Mill Rock Mountain. And then again, right here, you'll see our discoveries, and I'll show you that. So the first discovery is Rainbow, and Rainbow is shaping up to be one of the highest grade copper discoveries in the world. We discovered this deposit in August 2020 in the height of the pandemic at 900 meters vertical depth. And we've now drilled it up to within 90 meters of surface, and we're now pending results on the final assays from drilling there. And that's what's due out is the results from the step out and infill drilling. And so again, we're going to be pending a maiden resource on Rainbow within the first 800 meters of surface. And Rainbow is open at depth. Rainbow is one of the highest grade copper discoveries in the world in that it's averaging 4% copper. And when you add in the gold, silver, and zinc as byproducts, it's averaging 4.4% copper equivalent. So again, Rainbow is one of the highest grade copper discoveries in the world. We're looking to publish a maiden resource on Rainbow within Q1 of 2023. And we've got a tremendous amount of drilling that's pending and leading up to the Rainbow resource. And historically, if you look at the exploration of the property, it was very, very shallow drilling. And we ultimately discovered Rainbow within the 2 kilometers of that growth fault corridor. And historically, there had been no exploration up until the discovery of Rainbow with some really minor drilling within 2 kilometers of the base of the growth fault. And we've just announced in the past several weeks, which we're very excited about, is a brand new discovery, which is called the Alchemist. And the Alchemist sits right at the base of the growth fault that's established there at Pine Bay. So now we've got 2 discoveries. Rainbow, we're marching towards a maiden resource. It's one of the top 10 highest grade copper discoveries truly in the world. And then now we've just made the discovery of Alchemist, which we've announced just about 3 weeks ago, which we're very, very excited about. And again, Alchemist is open at depth, open along strike, and is now recently shown some very, very high grade intervals. The last interval that we put in out of that is 4.4 meters of over 4% copper equivalent. And again, in terms of copper grades globally, the average grade of mined copper around the world is just 0.5%. And to be in one of the top 10 highest grade copper mines in the world, you need to be over 3.75% copper. So these discoveries are located within a 30-minute drive of Flin Flon. They're located within a 30-minute drive of Flin Flon, those processing facilities, and both discoveries are open at depth. So we're very, very excited about the potential for them to feed into that community and those immediate needs. We've also got some targets along that trend that we're testing between Rainbow and Alchemist, and that's pending news. So it's a lot of exploration targets that are on the kind of coming into things here. So with that being said, I'll take the final few minutes to jump into any questions that anybody might have, and then can take any things in a finer detail with the last 5 or 6 minutes I think we have.
Yes, we do. All right, let's jump in. May Patton, taking a look at your quarterly, you had big income for the period of 3/31. So what was that attributed to?
So it wasn't income. We're an exploration company, so we don't drive income. We're very similar to a biotech company. That's the price appreciation, the value of the company is driven by research and development, and that's through drilling. So we did a capital raise. We actually did a capital raise at a premium price to where we're trading it today. That was done at 311 Canadian. Some of it and the rest of it was priced at $5 a share Canadian, and that was to fund the 20,000 meter drilling campaign. So again, that 20,000 meter drilling campaign was twofold. It was to drive a maiden resource on Rainbow and then hit new discoveries. And we just started announcing exploration results. And with that, it was the brand new discovery of the Alchemist. So that's what that capital injection was from, and that's what it was. It's being spent on to deliver.
And Oscar M wants to know, who's currently producing near you? Are these other properties you are discussing currently in production?
So the current producing company, or was recently producing, I'm sorry, let me just put on my camera here, was Hud Bay. So Hud Bay was the producer of the 777 mine in the town of Flin Flon, and those processing facilities are now sitting idle. So Hud Bay has a very large reclamation liability for that processing facilities because they have been producing there for 100 years of over 400 million. So there's an idle processing facility with over 5,500 tons per day capacity. You have, again, over 700 miners that need jobs in the town. And that's the real opportunity from, again, an exploration standpoint. Oftentimes, a lot of exploration companies are doing exploration very, very remote. We're doing exploration in proximity to infrastructure that's sitting idle. And I should also mention Rainbow and Alchemist are in very close proximity, within hundreds of meters of a hydroelectric power line. So you have clean, low-cost power, and they do so within a mineral lease. So there's advanced permitting at Pine Bay. You only need a water license to go into production.
Wow. So Tim wants to know, Tim G, what's your current monthly burn?
The current monthly burn withstanding any exploration is $85,000 Canadian. That ramps up when we have exploration. Right now, we've winded down drilling, and we're just finalizing and drilling the last hole on target area Odin, which is, again, is a very big chargeability isostellar target. I don't want to get into details. That sits directly between Alchemist and Rainbow within that 2-kilometer trend. So again, that's the burn, and we're, again, winding down. So we have 2/3 of the drill results that are pending assays that we'll put out between now and really the next month and a half.
Linda Burns wants to know, any JVs with any of the previous or current operators?
So no, there is no JVs. We own all the properties 100% outright, which is obviously the way you want to be, pending a huge discovery that we think we're onto, and we're drilling out right now. We have signed CAs with a number of majors that are operating in Canada. Have recently connected some site visits, and that is an opportunity that we are, obviously continuously pursuing, as the right partner that could come in, but not necessarily initially on the project level. I think on the equity level is probably the natural first fit for a potential partner longer term. We're also backstopped by a PEA stage zinc lead asset in New Brunswick that we own 100% outright, and a 20 million ton gold copper zinc deposit in Newfoundland, Canada, that we own 100% outright as well. I should mention, as underpinning value outside of our discoveries in Manitoba.
Fantastic. Garrett L wants you to talk about your funding needs to succeed. How much and over what time frame?
So we're just now putting in place what the cost necessary to drill out Alchemist. That's going to be our next phase of exploration and drilling is obviously going to be focused on now step out drilling and building a resource on Alchemist, as we're pending a resource from Rainbow, and we're doing pending a 43-101 compliant resource on Rainbow, and actually an adjacent Pine Bay deposit. So with that being said, rough back of the envelope numbers right now, I'd say you need $5 million Canadian. We'll need to do step out drilling on Alchemist at roughly 75 to 100 meter intervals from up to surface and down at depth to build a maiden resource and really establish the extent of mineralization at Alchemist. I should also mention, and then in terms of Odin, we're still drilling target area Odin, so it's too early to speak. And so that's why it's really too early to speak in terms of overall plans and budgets until we finish the current campaign that we're unwinding right now, that are getting pending results from the laboratories. And then I do want to mention, in Manitoba, we have a tremendous ability to raise capital at a significant leverage. And that's the benefit of operating and exploring within Canada. Aside from being a tier 1 jurisdiction, they have a lot of incentives. So as I mentioned earlier, when we raise capital, we can leverage our investors' dollar. So while our investor paid $3.11 a share in our recent financing Canadian, we were able to price at a significant premium to the market at $5 a share. And that's how we can raise that capital, leverage that, mitigate dilution as we drive to move these deposits and discoveries to development and eventual production.
Chris Nielsen wants you to clarify, you have no proven reserves. Is that correct? And can you quickly go into your estimates again?
Okay, so in terms of proven reserves, as an entire company, we do have a 20 million ton resource in New Brunswick called Nash Creek. It's a zinc lead deposit within 25 kilometers of deepwater port rail line and processing facilities. And that actually is a PEA published in 2018 on it. We also have a 43-101 compliant resource on our Point Leamington deposit that sits in Newfoundland, Canada, and that's a copper, gold, zinc-rich deposit pit constrained with also within a mineral lease in proximity to an idle mill. So all the assets within the company are in proximity to mills that are sitting idle. There's also a mill that's sitting idle in New Brunswick within 100 kilometers of Nash Creek. Rainbow, Pine Bay, and the Alchemist deposits are brand new. Pine Bay actually is a historic deposit. That's why that mineral lease is there, the advanced permitting, and we're updating that historic deposit of 1 million tons of 3% copper up when we do the maiden resource on Rainbow. Rainbow is a brand new discovery from August 2020. We put 40,000 meters of drilling there, and we've just concluded the last bits of drilling that we need to then publish the maiden resource in Q1 there. So you're going to have 43101 compliant resources on Rainbow and Pine Bay, and then we'll be in tandem drilling out Alchemist. Alchemist, that discovery, the first hole into Alchemist was in April 10th of this year. And we just announced the first 3 holes into that brand new discovery about 3.5 weeks ago. So the next steps there will be step out drilling to build a maiden resource on Alchemist. Just like we've done at Rainbow. Really, Alchemist today is where Rainbow was in January of 2021. So you can see how far we've come with Rainbow.
And in the area, Wade Thomas wants to know, how is the infrastructure, like the roads and the power source?
So we have direct road access. The road is actually put in there for mining. I can actually just share something, a window real quick, probably. So it's accessible by road access within 30-minute drive. And so it's direct road access. You can actually see the road access here. There's a historic headframe and shaft that I'm highlighting right here. This is the historic Pine Bay deposit. That's 1 million tons of 3% copper. This is the brand new Rainbow discovery. Rainbow, again, sits within 200 meters of this hydroelectric power line and comes right up within 90 meters of surface right here. And then you have the Alchemist, which again is analogous to the Flin Flon deposit in that it sits closest to the Mill Rock outcropping or the Mill Rock Mountain here at Pine Bay. So these deposits all have road access, 30-minute drive to that facility in Flin Flon that I'd shown you earlier in the presentation.
I bet it's beautiful. Adrian Cantwell asks, after the resource upgrade, what are the next main steps for development over the following 12 months? And what turnaround times at Assay Labs are you experiencing?
So the next steps are, again, we have a maiden resource pending on the Rainbow deposit, which again sits, let me just back out here. The Rainbow deposit, again, we're pending a maiden resource here at Rainbow, where I'm highlighting here. We're also pending an updated resource here at Pine Bay. That'll be done within Q1 of next year. We've already done all the drilling and work. All the capital costs have been spent that need to be done there. We've just again announced we're within 3 holes of a brand new Alchemist discovery right here. Next steps over the next 6 to 8 months would be doing step out drilling to start stepping out and drilling out the Alchemist deposit, just like we've done on Rainbow. And right this moment, we have a drill rig turning in this area right here called Target Area Odin. And Odin sits directly between Rainbow and Alchemist. I'd like to think that we're going to be successful in exploration there. These things happen in sequences. And again, no one's ever explored within the first 2 kilometers of this growth fault. So should we be successful with our exploration on this current campaign, or even on the start of the next campaign, the objective would be to build a maiden resource and drill that out at Odin, and those would catch up to where Rainbow and Pine Bay are. And again, those would be drilled out but remain open at depth. And these big deposits in Flin Flon and these high-grade deposits that you get, they're very, very rare. Most of them happen actually in Central Africa. So this is a unique place in a Tier 1 jurisdiction. Again, they go deep. So in addition to that, I'm also in the talks with the Manitoba government. And the Manitoba government has been kind enough when we first made the discovery of Rainbow, and they gave us a $300,000 grant because of its potential to create near-term jobs in northern Manitoba with the impending shutdown of the 777 mine here in Flin Flon. So we're also in talks as a potential working with them on ways where we can fast track and accelerate things and do things that are more development stage tasks that are non-core that you wouldn't typically do in an exploration stage. So should that work out, I think over the next 12 months, we'd like to also bring in environmental permitting, metallurgical drilling testing, and those are things that are kind of longer lead items that are necessary as you march to a near-term production decision. But that's how we're going to be transitioning, again, from, obviously still very early stage in exploration and drilling out these brand new discoveries, but also being able to transition to a near-term production situation for Flin Flon, but also on the backdrop of a very, very exciting base metal cycle.
Last question for you, Max. Ian wants to know, which results are we going to be looking for in your upcoming press release?
So that's going to be step-out drilling from Rainbow. So again, we have, sorry, I need to take this off again. We have a step-out drilling that's still due out on Rainbow. We have a current drill rig pending on target area Odin that again sits between Odin and Rainbow. And then again, that's all going to lead to a maiden resource by Q1 of this year. Of next year.
It's exciting times up there. So we really appreciate you joining us, and we'd love for you to come back and give us some updates.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everyone's time today.
Thank you, Max. Okay, everyone, what a thrilling conference we've had. Long, great conference. Thank you all for participating. Remember, in just a second, you're going to be redirected to the registration page for our next conference next week. So stay on to reserve your spot. On behalf of all of us at the Emerging Growth Conference, thank you to all of our presenters and our attendees for making this such a great success. Remember, a complete replay of the conference, separated by company, will be on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Emerging Growth Conference. Also, follow us on Twitter at Emerging Growth C. I'm Anna Berry. On behalf of myself and our entire team, we wish you a happy, healthy, and successful rest of your week. We'll see you next Wednesday.